TG Geeks, episode 268, April 6, 2020. Film Festival Fun for the Future. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the Two Gay Geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane, and we're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona, our little corner of isolation right now.
Yes, and I'm Ben Raggington, coming to you from the quarantine studios of TG Squared. People.
Exactly.
I lost my train. I totally lost my
TG Squared people.
Well, because I said studios already, and I didn't want to say it again because that would have sounded weird. So I decided to go for the bizarre.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the Two Gay Geeks are discussing this.
You're still chuckling.
That was hilarious. And I just want to say at the outset that we are going to continue to publish a podcast every Monday. And if you're listening on Krypton Radio on Tuesdays, every Tuesday, just to keep some normalcy in your life. And also because, you know, even if it's just us talking and chatting, you heard the last episode, we went way over just talking, geeking out, a real nerd con of stuff, Star Trek Picard.
Yeah.
But anyway, this time we're actually going to talk to Patricia Chica and Dr. Rebekah Louisa Smith, and we're going to talk about the state of film festivals today. We're going to have our birthday shout-outs, our featured podcast of the week, everybody's favorite feedback, a couple of shout-outs, and in the second segment, we're finally, hopefully, this time, going to get to Ben's book review and then have our weekly recap and a regular shout-out. So let's just get right to it. And this time we welcome to the show two individuals who have a unique perspective on the world of filmmaking and film festivals. Today we welcome Dr. Rebekah Louisa Smith, known as the Film Festival Doctor. She's coming to us from Essex, England, just right outside London. And we have also Patricia Chica.
Back on the show. Who is one of our wonderful friends, who's a filmmaker. And she's coming to us from Montreal, Canada. So welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure to be with you and spend a Saturday morning with the Two Gay Geeks.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right.
Nothing like a nice bit of positive affirmation on a Saturday morning.
Exactly. So, Patricia, for those that haven't had any exposure to the podcast and heard you before, give us a short background of who you are and what you do and kind of all your accolades and all that kind of neat stuff.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a super connector and storyteller, a filmmaker, and I work in publicity, in film publicity as well. And I consider myself somebody who brings value to other filmmakers by accompanying them into their journey into bringing their work to the world. So, for example, when I'm not making my own film, I would accompany a filmmaker who is about to release their project, and they've been working on it for years, and you know, they have a pretty good idea about where their project is going, but from there and on, I will just create a strategy on how to build a narrative around their work and their film and their persona, so it becomes so irresistible for the media to want to speak about them and about their films. So
yeah, and you've done that at Cannes and at Sundance and Slamdance and a number of really prestigious and huge film festivals. So
yes, every year I travel. There's a route of festivals that I do every year, like Cannes, Sundance, TIFF, Frontier, Fantasia. I go sometimes to South by Southwest when there's a film there that I'm representing. And, I've been to over 300 film festivals since the beginning of my career. So I've traveled quite a bit with films. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Rebekah, tell us about you and what it is that you do.
Okay, so thank you. Great to be on your show, and really proud that I'm also here with Patricia, who indeed a super connector and an all-round genius and oracle. So my company, as you said, is called the Film Festival Doctor. And what we do is we work in the area of film distribution. And it's the niche sector of film distribution because what we do is we help our clients create successful film festival campaigns for their film. So we place their film in the right film festivals around the world, help them win prestigious awards and get their film seen, and also make themselves as filmmakers visible on the circuit and to help their careers. So this is kind of a very niche kind of business. It's not particularly, say, very well known as other kind of companies like, say, a sales agent might be, for example, or a marketing company. But the company began through a gap in the market. I was producing a film festival called the Abertoir Horror Festival in Wales when I was studying for my PhD back in 2008. And whilst I was there, I really enjoyed producing festivals. Actually, I realised I wanted to be doing that more than academia. And I asked filmmakers what they liked and disliked about film festivals. And they all said, we love them, but we don't know who to ask to help get our film to a festival. So I was like, there's a gap. I thought, I can do this because I know what festivals want through going to festivals to get films to Abertoir and to tour the circuit and know what was happening. So I thought, I'm going to give it a go. So obviously, a lot of trial and error. And now it is a lot more established, and we have offices in the UK and LA.
Wow, that's incredible. So we have talked about film festivals, and that is exactly what we're here to talk about today. And I wanted to bring the two of you together because you both have a unique perspective on film festivals, and we wanted to start with the question of, and Rebekah, why don't you answer this question? How do you feel about the canceling of film festivals? And it's okay to, obviously to feel bad about that, but we know that they have been canceled for the good of humanity. So, but let's get your feelings and whatnot on those cancelings and how you feel about that.
Okay, so I think it's important, what I think now is to get clear to filmmakers that not all festivals have cancelled. A lot of them are rescheduling or going online. There have some that have had to cancel. I think the biggest shock was South by Southwest because everything was kicking off at that point about the coronavirus when it was all going on, and obviously South by being in end of March, they just couldn't go on with it, and they couldn't reschedule it for a later date either. So I think that was really shook people up. And there were some other smaller festivals that also couldn't have the money or the funds or ability to reschedule for later on in the year. So it is sad that right now it's going to be a very quiet period in terms of live festivals. And obviously that is a good thing because you don't want people to get ill and to spread this virus to be millions of people dying.
Absolutely.
So, yes, I'm glad I'd rather be in the best of health and actually now enjoy festivals that have gone online. A lot of short film festivals are going to go online as well as the bigger ones. So I'll tell a little story. We had a bit of sad news when I was at a film festival in San Jose. So I was at the CineQuest Film Festival, which is a brilliant festival. It was in its 30th year, all having a great time. Then halfway through, it got rescheduled to the end of August. The first week went on, second week is end of August. So it shook us to the bone. But then a lot of festivals around that time, I was getting in my inbox almost every day when I was there, like rescheduling, going online or having to cancel. So I was like, wow. So I did like a little bit of a spreadsheet. I looked at how many were cancelling, how many were rescheduling, and how many were going online. And I'm really pleased that a lot of them that at one point said we might have to cancel, we don't know if we can reschedule, actually said we've now worked out how to go online. So I'm seeing now actually a different way to enjoy and engage in a film festival by going online. Some of them are doing a watch party on Facebook. Some of them are doing like a ticketed event, like going to the theatre as you would, like Aspen are doing that right now for like the global audiences. And it's really working because they're being quite creative and how they're presenting festivals virtually. So I'm glad that although it will be a quiet period of really not going to anything or any kind of pictures except from repeats and live networking, I'm interested to see now how far that can stretch and what will happen during this period when everything goes online. I know for one thing that Hot Docs are going to have their industry section run as planned online in April for like networking and working, and then live screenings will be in October. So I'm really good to see how networking will happen online for a change.
Right. So we talked about this on our last episode of the appeal of film festivals, and we want to talk about that in just a few minutes, and then kind of hit on some points that you talked about. So Patricia, tell us how you're feeling and what is your general outlook on these canceling of the film festivals. That obviously South by Southwest, because you were planning on going to that one this year.
Yes. Well, you see, the online virtual festival has always been an appealing tool for all of the festivals. And I think this coronavirus pandemic is just accelerating the access to online education, online presentation of films. And I've been thinking a lot about what's next when the world comes back to its normal pace. And from my observation, not only as a publicist, as a filmmaker, as somebody who attends a lot of festivals, but somebody who also is aware of the consciousness of the planet, more and more people are trying to avoid international travel nowadays, not only for security reasons, for health reasons, but also because it's polluting the planet. So mentalities are shifting very quickly, and this is just an accelerator. So my prediction, honestly, would be that the world of film festivals will not be the same as it was before the crisis. It will incorporate even more online meetups, and big festivals such as Cannes, as Tribeca, TIFF, Sundance, who have large prestigious international premieres. What I think will happen, it is not going to be anymore about the red carpet, the glam, the press, everybody there, the premiere in a theater anymore. It will become more about the prestige of that laurel, the stamp we get from that curator, that film festival programmer, but also to create an international viewing experience in different art house theaters in different big cities, such as London, LA, New York, Toronto, Montreal, just to name a few, where there's going to be art house theaters getting a license from that big film festival so they can screen simultaneously worldwide that world premiere of that film. And industry people can register to be in their local town watching the Q&A live from a streaming device of some sort. And then the stars, the cast and the crew wouldn't have to travel internationally to be on a red carpet, but they could be in their hometown, let's say in LA, in a studio doing the live Q&A that everybody is broadcasting in all of those different theaters filled by industry people.
Right.
So the networking aspect could still be there, but it's not going to be on a large scale where 35,000 people are in the same town at the same time, but it could be 100,000 people divided in maybe 20, 25 different locations.
That's
the world.
That's an interesting point. Now, the thing that worries me is how the films might be received. And Keith and I talked about this on a previous show. And Keith reminded me of a movie that we saw at Horrible Imagining several years ago. It was a horror comedy called The Greasy Strangler. Now, the funny thing about that is there are some movies that have to be a collective experience. Because otherwise something gets seriously lost. And I think a movie like Greasy Strangler succeeds because there was a room full of, because Horrible Imaginings is a very popular film festival, so the theater was packed to the gills. And the audience absolutely devoured this movie. But it's one of these weird ones that I think if you watch it in small groups, I think a lot of the magic for some odd reason gets lost.
Yeah, because we were sitting there and you would hear the collective gasps and the eruption of laughter, and it was that whole sense of community and being together. Not that you can't experience that online, but it's the whole vibe of being there. And we kind of thought, well, maybe there's a path forward to having the film festivals after we, finally get through this crisis of having the film festival so that you can have that collective experience, but also then taking a note from now and putting those films, either best of or the entire film festival, online after the fact.
Well, how I see it is, when the Oscars are being broadcast, and in every different city there's a Oscars watching party. Even in LA, there's like 25 Oscar watching parties going on. The PGA has one, and the actors union, and everybody has their own viewing party. So I believe for a big world premiere like a Cannes type of premiere, industry people will still gather and cheer and be excited and have maybe a smaller crowd in the theater, but it's still going to be a theater filled with cinephiles and enthusiastic industry goers.
Right.
So it's important to keep that element of human connection. That cannot be lost, because then it's part of the improvised experience of meeting somebody for the first time and networking internationally. So I don't think that aspect will be lost, but it will be more appropriate for, let's say, young filmmakers who cannot afford $5,000 to fly to Cannes every year.
Exactly.
And the year they don't have a film, they could still benefit from being part of an online category of registered industry members, and still benefit from the networking and the connections and the educational parts of going to those big festivals.
Right. So, Rebekah, what do you see as the path forward for film festivals? Do you have anything different than what Patricia has?
Yeah, and can we move forward in a healthy way so that we don't see any drop-off? Because I do have a concern that we might see some sort of irreparable damage done to the whole film festival mentality because we're all in some sort of shutdown. Can we recover from this, or is online going to really be the new wave of the future?
We can recover, and I do believe that online will not be replacing the live film festival format. It will certainly work as a very integral and prominent role within the industry for sure, and especially with the festival sector. I think one path forward will be that a lot of festivals that run as planned from, say, end of August, September onwards will probably have to maybe just put into place careful kind of social distancing kind of laws that have come in now. Not extreme as it is now, but I mean, a way to like not have too many people in one place at one time, or to like pace things out, or not have, as Patricia said, like 5,000 people in one room, but to be a lot more, say, practical, I suppose is the word. One thing I also see in terms of way forward, and is in terms of with Cannes, all of the festivals which have markets, so Cannes, Berlinale, TIFF, etc., and AFM, I see that Cannes are going to be launching a digital film market, so for buyers, buying feature films. So I think that's going to play an interesting role to see then people who live afar, if they actually think it's, they have the budget to travel, they can actually see everything they want to buy online and then do everything virtually. So that's how I see online still being a very prominent role. Great, definitely great for markets, the big film markets, but also the smaller niche film markets, like documentary markets and short film markets too. I think having an online presence will become a bit more prominent and bigger now after what's happened with the pandemic. Festivals will still carry on. I know that festivals that run from September onwards, as I mentioned, they intend to run as planned. They might have to maybe scale back here and there, or just jig things around with what's going on to be extra safe. But I'm glad that we've seen that in China, the virus has gone. Everyone is kind of out now of lockdown, as gyms reopening, etc. So if they can do it, we can all do it if we adhere to the rules. And I think it's just a case of just adapting it so that everyone can be in the best health, and there'll be no kind of no kind of like red zones, people then where they might get ill, pick up something.
Right. I always thought that a brilliant idea for film festivals would be to have their film festival, and then, as I said, after the fact, have an online film festival, either choosing best of or have the whole thing, and then you pick and choose. It's another way for the film festival to bring in some money, but it even more so a way for people to see films that they otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to see, because we've had to make a choice, some tough choices occasionally, where we go to this film festival but not that, or we go to this convention and not this film festival, or we go to this film festival and not this convention. So I think, and you just miss out on some really great films. There are some films at film festivals that never see the light of day after the film festivals, and I think it's a shame, because we've seen some tremendous things at film festivals, not only Phoenix Film Festival here and Horrible Imaginings and several other film festivals that we do. Do you think that is that a niche market that somebody needs to step up and create a software to let people pick and choose the films that they want to see, or what? Or am I just like, is that a pipe dream?
Well, from my observation in the last 3 weeks since the pandemic started, is that journalists and film critics are contacting me for the first time, asking me, do you have any screeners that we can watch and review? It has never happened to me in my whole career as a publicist to have somebody reach out to me asking for screeners. And what happens is that all of those film critics and journalists, they're locked at home, they're not traveling, they're not networking, socializing anywhere, and they are bored, they have time in front of them, and business must go as usual with their blogs, their websites, podcasts, whatever they have going. They need content. And the studios are not promoting the films right now because no one is going to go watch them. You know, they're not generating any box office. There's no possibility of generating any box office right now from theaters. And the sad part of this pandemic is that theaters are struggling. AMC is filing for bankruptcy.
Right.
That's where we have to ask ourselves, are our habits shifting to digital, or is it just the pandemic?
Right.
Because less and less people go to the theaters to watch independent films. So where is the future for independent cinema? And that's where we should really think about it. And my guess is that distribution companies will become less and less relevant, and more producers and independent filmmakers will have access to the platforms.
Right.
So we won't need that middleman who is making all the money, because let's face it, it's not the independent filmmakers making money over their films. It's the distribution companies and the studios.
Exactly. Oh, here we'll give you $10,000 for your film, and then we're going to sell it for $500,000.
Exactly, and all the fees, the P&A, et cetera, et cetera. So my hope is that filmmakers will have that direct access to the platforms and the buyers. So then we wouldn't need to go through that middle person who gets all the money. And I've noticed it just in the last 2 weeks. I've been part of different Zoom calls from different associations, and I'm talking with people like Jen Rosenthal, who is the co-founder of Rebekah and Scorsese's producer. I'm talking to Effie Brown, on another Zoom call directly. And those people I would have never had access before.
Wow.
In the real world, everything is so connected now. We have access. We have those people's emails. We know their Facebook page or their LinkedIn. So this crisis is really connecting us all in a way that wouldn't have been even possible a month ago.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it. And that's the positive side for independent filmmakers. And also, just to finish my thought, new filmmakers, the younger generation of filmmakers who still don't have the means to travel or the connections or the sales agent or distributor or that mentor champion, they could now access those people more easily than my generation, for example.
Right. So, Rebekah, do you have something, some last thoughts before we wrap this up in a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Patricia there. Some very good points you mentioned. And one thing, to think about now is, what role sales agents will have after this and in the future. But one thing, there's 2 points, actually. The first one is that it's great that we can watch online, all these amazing festival films that, as you mentioned, sometimes don't always see the light of day. It tends to be at a festival and has trouble getting out there. And I think that will change too. But I think what also is a bit of an obstacle for feature films that are part of a film festival is the whole geo-blocking. So, for example, say the film at CineQuest that was going to be launching in March will be released in June before its part 2 in August when it was due to launch. Can it still play? Can it go online? And also those films which are going to be online at an online film festival, are they allowed to be screened if they're a feature film all over the world? Is it just certain countries? So geo-blocking is going to come into this and figure out how to be flexible and work around that.
Right.
With shorts, it's not as much of an issue, but obviously with features, it's different things with contracts and distribution companies. So they have to be kind of find a way to get around that or to be flexible, because obviously one of the rules is with the festival is that you can screen it at the festival before it gets released, but obviously screening it online is different to screening it live. It's obviously just in that one territory, that being USA in San Jose, for example. But then instead it's going to be an online festival that will be all over the world. That could cause some restrictions if the film can't be shown there. We have the same thing now. Another film of ours got into a festival in Chile. They had to go online because it's running in 2 weeks. And then we said, well, we can't screen it in certain countries because of limitations we have and contracts that we have with other countries where it's sold to. So again, a film that has a sales agent could help with that, and also a distribution company that can be flexible and work around that. That's one thing to think about for the future. But secondly, as well, is I don't think you can ever replace organic networking and having a wonderful time in person, online. You can only do that in person. So I think online networking is going to work, and it'd be really interesting to see what happens after that and have good relationships and meet in person eventually someplace. But one thing festivals bring, and I always find this as being absolutely magical at a festival, is bringing people together, and that's in real time, in real life.
Absolutely.
They can do it online, but just something about in person, you get that chemistry, you don't get it online.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow, this has been a fantastic conversation, and obviously there's a lot more ground that we can cover, but we're up against the time. So for people who want to learn more about each of you, I'll ask Patricia first. Where can people learn more about what you're doing if they wish to follow you? Any social media presence?
Yes, I'm all over all the platforms. My website is patriciachica.com as my name, and you can find me through Patricia Chica on Facebook, on Twitter, and Chicatronica on Instagram. And I answer to everybody who writes to me.
Cool. And Rebekah?
So you can find me, like Patricia, all over socials. My website is www.thefilmfestivaldoctor.com. And on Facebook, I'm Rebekah Louisa Smith. And on Instagram, I'm at Rebekah Film Dr. And Rebekah is spelled Rebekah.
Absolutely
excellent.
Wonderful. This has just been a great conversation.
It's been very enlightening.
I can't thank you both enough. And Rebekah, because what is it, 8 o'clock at night now or something like that?
Midnight.
It's 10 to 6 at night, so it's okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank goodness.
I lost the time, and Patricia, I know you're fine. It's only noon or almost 1 o'clock, so great. This has been wonderful. Thank you both so much for being on the show this time.
Oh,
it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Patricia Chica, director, producer, and here you are listening to my favorite podcast, The Two Gay Geeks. Oh, yeah.
That was a really fascinating conversation.
It was a great conversation.
Yeah, a lot to think about.
Well, I now consider myself rather enlightened by this, and maybe not quite as concerned as I was before.
Yeah. And here's a few selected birthdays for April 6th through April 12th, 2020. April 6th, Paul Rudd, actor, Ant-Man. He did a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and he's a huge Rush fan.
I didn't know he was a big Rush fan.
Yeah. And then we have Merle Haggard, a singer. His big claim to fame was Okie from Muskogee.
Oh, yeah.
Had a very interesting career. Fascinating individual. Okie from Muskogee made him a right-wing conservative. What do you want to call it?
Darling.
Yeah, but he also later in life spoke up for the Dixie Chicks. So he had a lot of mixed things in his life that were very interesting.
He sounds more apolitical than actually taking one side or another.
Yeah, I mean, whatever seemed to be the most right thing. So, and then certainly his views changed over the years.
Oh, yeah.
So, then we have Billy D. Williams, actor, played Lando Calrissian. And then we have Michael Rooker, actor, Yondu in Guardians, Walking Dead. He was Merle Dixon, and he was in an episode of SG-1.
Yes, he was.
And Colonel Edwards.
That's right, he was Colonel Edwards. I remember, we saw that some years ago, and I remember him.
Yeah. John Ratzenberger, actor.
The voice of Pixar.
Yes, Cliff on Cheers. In every Pixar film, he is their good luck charm, I should say. Mm-hmm. His very first film was The Ritz. And
I didn't know that was his first.
Yes, that was his very first film. He was just a patron in a towel.
And his line, I remember we watched it a couple of months ago, and I realized that his voice is dubbed.
Interesting.
It's not his voice.
Yeah. He was actually in Empire Strikes Back.
Yes, he was. He was one of the rebel fighters.
And Superman. And we just saw that the other day.
That's
Superman
right.
in the movie.
That's right. He's
one of the controllers.
One of the controllers in the missile booth.
Yep. And then we have René Lalique, a glass designer, created fine art pieces of blown glass. And Lalique is known today for its unique glass designs and whatnot. So just some fascinating, just looking at the Wikipedia article, just a few of the designs that he created himself were incredible.
Mark Strickson, actor. He was Turlo in Doctor Who, and he was also in, what was it with...
he was in A Christmas Carol.
Right, Christmas Carol.
He played young Ebenezer Scrooge in the George C. Scott version.
George C.
Scott version.
Yeah. April 7th, Jackie Chan, actor, big martial arts person, and
he was with a circus troupe, and in China, I think, I think in China, and that's sort of how he started to get his big break in the movies.
Interesting. That's fascinating. Then we have Francis Ford Coppola, who director, producer, and his company, American Zoetrope, was started by himself, Spielberg, and Lucas. George Lucas. And
they're the three big rebels of San Francisco.
And also he is a winemaker.
Yeah, I really like.
And we've had
a
number of different.
Yes, we did. We had a rosé. I think
Sophia.
The Sophia. That's right.
Yeah, it's really kind of nice. And Billie Holiday, singer, jazz singer, influential on jazz music and pop singing, known for her delivery and improvisational skills. She was a woman of color. She was a contralto, actually.
Oh.
And then her many years of smoking and drug use. And, I mean,
that did wonders to the voice.
Limited her range significantly, as well as gave it that kind of raspy
very
sound.
It was a smoky sound.
Yep. And then we have Ravi Shankar, a sitar player, composer, worked with George Harrison. Nora Jones is his daughter. And then we have Facebook friends Tiffany Rodriguez, Miguel's wife, and Craig Baumler. April 8th, Julian Lennon, singer, songwriter, son of John. He was the inspiration or the subject of Hey Jude.
Hey Jude, yep.
And we have Robin Wright, actor, started out as the Princess Bride and then in Blade Runner 2049 and House of Cards. Katie Sackhoff, actress, Battlestar Galactica.
That's probably the big one.
Yep, among other things. And I put Betty Ford on here, not because of her political career as former First Lady.
No, because...
But, bringing addiction out of the closet,
that's
if
right.
you will.
Shining a light on alcoholism and other forms of addiction.
Exactly, with the Betty Ford Clinic. Then we have Franco Corelli, opera singer. He was a big, long career at the Met. He was a tenor, and there's a number of performances that they do on Met Opera Radio with Franco. And then Facebook friend and former coworker, Bruce Pulver. I knew Bruce way back in the days when I worked at St. Luke's. And,
oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, he worked for McKesson, and then I went to work for McKesson. So, anyway, April 9th, Dennis Quaid, actor, the sane one. Day After Tomorrow, he speaks Mandarin. And
I didn't know that.
He also has a pilot's license.
Oh, how about that?
And Tal Dorati, composer, conductor, is Hungarian-born, studied with Zoltan Kodály and for composition, and Bela Bartok for piano. Well known for his recordings of Tchaikovsky's work, conducted a number of world premieres of Bartok's music and a Sibelius tone poem. Charles Steinmetz, mathematician, scientist, he pioneered several concepts dealing with AC current. And Jim Fowler, a zoologist. He was the replacement for Marlon Perkins on the Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. He did 40 appearances on Johnny Carson's show. And he died last year at the age of 89.
Oh, I didn't know he had passed.
Yep. April 10th, Daisy Ridley.
Oh, you forgot a friend.
Sorry. Facebook friend and personal friend, Tracy Kluss. Happy birthday, Tracy. We've known Tracy for, my God,
quite a few years.
Yeah. April 10th, Tracy and Kevin, actually.
Yeah.
April 10th, Daisy Ridley, Star Wars. And then we have David Harbour, actor, Stranger Things, is Sheriff Jim Hopper.
And he's about to be seen in the new Black Widow movie.
Yeah. Haley Joel Osment, actor,
I See Dead People.
I See Dead People, and AI.
Fabulous talent.
Yeah. And Max von Sydow.
How nice we just got to watch him last night.
We just saw him last night. We watched Dune again. Exorcist. He was in Exorcist. And Flash. And Star Wars. He was Lor Santeca. And he was also
that's right. That was in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, several different films. And,
he was,
voice and on games and etc.
It's possible, but I know that we actually saw his face in The Force Awakens. But my favorite role of his will always be that of Emperor Ming, he was so campy in it.
Yep. And then we have Harry Morgan, actor. He was Colonel Padre on MASH.
Also in Dragnet.
Yes, exactly. April 11th, Joel Grey, actor, singer, out gay man, Cabaret, Christmas Carol. He was in an episode of Warehouse 13, an episode of Buffy, an episode of Voyager.
I remember the episode of Voyager. I don't remember the episode of Warehouse 13, though.
And Night Gallery. He's 88 years old.
God, I really love this guy as an actor. I thought he was brilliant. He was creepy brilliant in Cabaret. And my favorite role will always be, and it's going to sound strange, but the ghost of Christmas Past in the Patrick Stewart version of A Christmas Carol.
Yep. And then we have Sandra Radvanovsky, opera singer. She should be currently at the Met, but
should be,
exactly. And then we have Facebook friend Donald Massey. April 12th, Tom Clancy, novelist, espionage and military science, creator of Jack Ryan. Big Hunt for Red October, I think, was the first Jack Ryan appearance.
That was the first Jack Ryan film.
And then we have Shannon Doherty, actress, Beverly Hills 90210, Charmed, Mallrats.
I just want to say that, if anybody knows Shannon, or if she, by some weird chance, hears this, that I'm really rooting for her. I know she's going through a cancer battle right now, and I really wish her the best.
Yep. David Letterman, talk show host. He was the one that kind of originated the crazy top 10.
Oh, yeah.
So, like every show, there was some top 10 something.
Oh, every episode of his had a top 10 in it.
Yep. Tiny Tim.
Oh, my.
Ukulele player. In 1963, he did a stint at Page 3, a gay club in Greenwich Village, for 6 hours a night, 6 days a week.
Oh, my goodness.
For 2 years. He appeared on, I think his big break was on Rona Martin's Laugh-In.
Yeah.
And his big thing was Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
And sang in this crazy falsetto. And then he sort of changed. He started singing in his regular chest voice, but he would do these weird covers that were actually kind of far out. He did towards the end of his life, he did a cover on some Zeppelin songs that was really very interesting.
Yep. And then we have David Cassidy.
Keith Partridge.
Singer in the Partridge Family. And his stepmother was
Shirley Jones.
Shirley Jones, yeah, exactly. Montserrat Caballé, opera singer, a ton of roles. Oh my God, she sang so much. Tosca is a big one. She sang.
But she had the cast iron lungs for it.
Oh my God, yeah. And she also sang with Freddie Mercury.
That's right. Yeah, they did a big number together. Barcelona.
Yep. And then we have Ann Miller.
Who's Ann Miller?
Leave this podcast.
Thank you.
Dancer, actress. She was in Hello, Dolly, Kiss Me, Kate, and Mame on Broadway.
I actually saw her live years
wow.
ago in San Francisco. She was doing this show with Mickey Rooney. Huh. It was a live stage show, and he would do these comedy sketches, and then she would come out and she would dance, and she still had it.
Wow, interesting. And then we have Lily Pons, opera singer, famed coloratura, sang over 300 performances at the Met between 1931 and 1960. And I think what I would say about her voice, it was kind of this bird-like quality to it. It was not my cup of tea, but she was quite the performer, and she was, my God, she was in demand and just very popular for her day because she could sing those high notes, and
she was doing things. Yeah, she was doing things that no one else was doing at the time.
Exactly. And then we have a friend of ours who is also an opera singer, Stephen Gertner.
He's right now in Paris. He was, I don't know, last I talked to him, the guy was in Paris. He was getting ready to do some opera there, but
who knows
what's going on right now in France. I'm not sure.
And that's it for the birthdays this time.
go give a listen to our friends over at Krypton Radio, where you can hear us at 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesdays. They have a lot of other wonderful shows that different people do. There's, a lot. Doctor Who, and there's Obi-Wan Kenobi, and
just go to kryptonradio.com.
24-hour geeky internet radio station.
They have a program calendar there. You can see all the different things.
There's some really neat stuff. So go check them out.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counsellors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
Finally, we get to some feedback.
We're holding on to this for a while now. This is first regarding Ben's gay book breakdown. Wolf in sheep's clothing is a murder mystery in true Agatha Christie fashion, but with werewolves. Got a comment from the author herself, Charlie at Harbour. She says, "Thank you for this review, Ben. Very kind." And she added, "It's the last weekend before Wolf in sheep's clothing comes out. Started off right with this lovely review and maybe pre-ordering. Thank you, Ben. It was really a lovely review, and I appreciate your generous support throughout all of this. And thanks for the heads up." She has a presence on Facebook, but hasn't done much. I really haven't developed much of a presence on Facebook, but this is still good to know. Best wishes. And then got a comment from John Smith. He's a follower on Twitter. He says, "It sounds like it might make a good series for stations like Logo. It would be good if they could go for the miniseries format instead of just a 90-minute movie, since the character interaction is so important. Every year would be a different book." John, from your mouth to God's ears, exactly. I would support that, and I think you're absolutely right. That is a perfect format. Now, we had lots of fun here. Jeannie Koch, she binged her life away watching Doom Patrol. And she hated it. And I actually left a comment. I said, we are in complete agreement. While I did enjoy seeing the Doom Patrol when they were introduced in Titans, what we were given here felt like more than several steps backward, and it kept feeling that way despite their attempts at some level of self-acceptance. It never got there. Danny Patrol is the one episode that sent me over the moon. What a positive and beautiful statement that episode made, despite Larry being a sourpuss throughout it. It was the episode that made me cry with joy, and Doom Patrol had the power to continue being the metaphor for the disenfranchised. Instead, it felt as if it were choosing to wallow in self-pity. Jeannie had much to say. She says, yes, wallowing is the best word for it. As a viewer, I was like, I get it already. You had horrible things happen to you. We know you have pain, horrible pain, but I don't know why I'm watching your pain, because all I'm getting out of it is loathing, whining, even more than I already do. The cast is so good, too. It's such a shame. Danny Patrol showed what the show could be, but 1 hour out of 15 isn't enough. And then I kind of said, yeah, I agree with you completely. The cast is amazing. Even with their voice acting, both Brendan Fraser and Matt Bomer do amazing jobs of bringing these characters to life. Such a pity we are subject to them being all pissy about how their life turned out, and the character of Larry is the one that bugs me the most. As a gay character, he should be one setting the tone for eventual self-acceptance, and Danny Patrol should have been the episode to bring that about. Sadly, it didn't happen, and that sets a bad example for every young disenfranchised geek who is looking for a positive role model. You're right. All we got was self-loathing whining, and that was a trip I did not need to take for an entire season. And Jeannie concludes by saying there are no positive role models in this show. I'm with you. I think there should be, but there are not. Cliff comes out of the closet, but still falls far short. And every time they make some growth steps, something happens, and they all revert to being horrible, just like real life, someone says. Yes, I'm not watching Doom Patrol to see reality.
Exactly.
And that was our diatribe.
Exactly. And you can leave a comment on our Facebook page if you would like to, because we publish all of our articles on Facebook as well as on Twitter and Instagram. You can even comment on our YouTube episodes, or you can go to tggeeks.com and comment directly on an episode or an article that we run. We also have a listener feedback line, and we want to hear from you because you are important to us. You can leave a voicemail message and we'll play it on air, and you can be famous like us for 15 minutes or 15 seconds or whatever it is. Call 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. And as always, please play nice. Well, as everybody knows, we are huge supporters of independent creators, whether it's filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, or others. Please buy their stuff, and especially now. Look up their stuff on the internet, go to their website, buy their stuff on the internet, look at their Facebook pages. Sometimes they're doing live demonstrations, they're reading, they're playing, they're doing all kinds of things. In this world of isolation, we need to support our independent creators. Please help them if you can. Joshua Tree Feeding Program is a nonprofit food pantry for the HIV/AIDS community for Maricopa and Pinal counties, and they offer a place where clients can select from a wide assortment of nutritional foods to take home. They set it up like a store so the clients can pick and choose what food they prefer. They don't just get a box of stuff that somebody has thrown together. It empowers them to take what they want so no food is wasted. Please consider supporting Joshua Tree either with a single or a monthly recurring gift. You can also do that at jtfp.org. If you are trans or are questioning your gender identity, and if you are in crisis or are feeling isolated and need someone to talk to, or you know of someone in a similar situation, there is a special hotline just for you. The hotline is provided by translifeline.org and staffed by trained counselors who are transgender themselves. The hotline in the U.S. is 877-565-8860. In Canada, it is 877-330-6366. Or you can go to translifeline.org to learn about the important work they are doing. Please reach out for help. You are not alone.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
I have got to talk about the series of books that I have been reading for some time now. And when I say some time, I mean it because the number of books out there by this author is staggering. Her name is Gail Z Martin, and she has been writing this. She's been building this universe that deals with the paranormal. It's all sort of set on the East Coast, going all the way up to Pittsburgh and heading down to South Carolina. And they're all connected to each other. Each series of books deals with a specific set of characters. There's a lot of crossover. But if you're really interested in reading books that deal with, black magic, African magic, any kind of paranormal horror story, if you will, it's like a paranormal fantasy horror kind of storytelling. Her name is Gail Z Martin, and I wrote a review a couple of weeks ago for one book called Deadly Curiosities. It's by no means the first book in her series, all of these. In fact, I need to find out what the timeline is in all of these, because she's got like five different books that she writes, each with their own set of characters. They continually cross over one into the other. And I'm not sure where the timeline falls. I need to find out, but it's not necessary to know. I mean, I started off with one series that dealt with a psychic medium and his boyfriend cop from Pittsburgh. So, and that happens like way, way down the line from the book that I'm currently reading right now. So each of these kind of stand on their own. But if you really want to read a wonderfully told and researched story that deals with the paranormal, that has some of the best world building you can possibly imagine, and that will keep you entertained for months, I would say check out the works of Gail Z Martin. She also writes under the pen name, I believe, of Morgan Bryce. Yes, she does. Morgan Bryce. It's interesting what she does. Morgan Bryce, her primary characters are gay men. And under the Gail Z Martin, her primary characters are, for lack of a better term, they're heterosexual. But there isn't so much of a gay focus on that, but it's still very LGBTQ friendly. These are some fantastic books that really embrace diversity. And again, the amount of research that she has gone into to tell these stories is absolutely staggering. I mean, I got to think this woman is slowly losing her mind because the way she writes these things, and to be able to keep each of these storylines apart, she must have a spreadsheet or some kind of flow chart that tells her where she needs to be in each of the tales that she tells. It is some of the most amazing world building I've ever seen in any big collection of books. I can't recommend them enough. They are so incredibly enjoyable. So once again, check out the collective works of Gail Z Martin and or Morgan Bryce. Her books are available all on Amazon, Kindle. You can get hard copies for it. And I will have the link for this one review that I wrote for Deadly Curiosities in the show notes for this episode at tggeeks.com.
Wow. Thank you.
And here are the things that we ran on our website at tggeeks.com last week. Starting on Sunday, March 29th, Dr. Zombie Monster Family Physician number 94. On Monday the 30th, TG Geeks episode number 267. We didn't have anything on the 31st, so on Wednesday, April Fool's Day, Nicole Kahn's More Beautiful for Having Been Broken gets worldwide distribution with Vision Films. We didn't have anything on Thursday.
But we did
we did rerun. We did recirculate an article through social media. It was a movie.
Never, sometimes, rarely, often.
Something like that.
Something.
Yeah, I should have that up, and I'm ashamed that I don't. But yes, we did rerun an article through social media that day. And then on Friday the 3rd, Hamish Downey's 5 Questions with Leslie Taylor of The Human Element. And then on Saturday the 4th, Focus Features kicks off Movie Mondays with free Facebook live streams of classic Focus titles. I'm very interested in that.
Yeah, and the first one that they're going to do is Gosford Park.
Yay!
You can find all these things at tggeeks.com as well as our entries on the Facebook page. Please visit and comment.
Have to give some shout outs. First to the Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News for republishing our content from time to time. It is put up by the human Arkle, Brian Weber. And you can find the Post-Dispatch News by finding him on Twitter. You do that by searching for Arkle at ARKLE. And he also has a shameless cash grab. He's in season 4, and he has already started episode 3 of The Killing Machine. And you can find that by going to youtube.com/Arkle Studios. Also, we must give some love to some Facebook groups for giving us some love by allowing us to post our episodes and relevant articles on their pages. First, to Gay Geeks After Hours. Big thanks to their moderators for literally telling us to share away. Their URL is facebook.com/groups/Gay Geeks After Hours, all one word. And then to The Gay Geek for also allowing us to share all of our wonderful stuff on their page. Their URL is facebook.com/groups/The Gay Geek. Again, all one word. And as always, we must give special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves.
Thank you, Jeremiah. And lastly, we can be found on TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, as well as where other fine podcasts can be found. Also, check us out on Krypton Radio at 3 a.m., 3 p.m. Pacific Time on Tuesdays. Please rate us and review us on iTunes, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can surf the internet while you listen. I did that already. Yes, no, that's right. Silly me. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We're going to have several links on the page of things that we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. I bid you peace. And please be kind to yourself and others.
Cheers.